One day after I told you why I like SMU over Miami, I've got a bet to back it up.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Locked On SMU, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. My name's Grayson Singleton. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in to our show today. Remember, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can grow this Locked On SMU community, and turn on that notification bell so you can be notified whenever we release new content. Coming up on the show today, we are going to go through what some of the coaches have said about how they're going to approach replacing Brashard Smith. That's a big topic of conversation as we get closer and closer into the season. And RJ Maryland may not be on the timetable that is preferred for all of us, what all that means and why SMU is going to be okay, even if it stretches into the season for RJ Maryland to make his return from a torn ACL. We're going to get to all those bets in just a second, by the way, but now is a good time for me to tell you that our show today is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets right now. And I'm about to give you some for SMU. So yesterday I told you why I think SMU has a higher ceiling than Miami, who basically are going to be the teams that we assume, unless SMU or Miami ends up being better than Clemson, is going to be battling for second in the ACC. Now, am I saying that second is SMU's ceiling? Absolutely, unequivocally not. But most are going to project Clemson to be a national title contender, whereas SMU, we're thinking, okay, they can get back to the playoffs. So we're just going to operate from that vantage point right now for this episode. Yesterday, I told you that I think Mario Cristobal is becoming potentially the next James Franklin, and he just finds ways to lose in comical fashion. SMU doesn't do that. I think SMU is a team with a much more level-headed coach, a much more tempered coach, and because of that, they don't have the opportunity for as much variance as a Mario Cristobal coach team does. CBS Sports released their ACC football preview, projections, picks, and a lot of bets that have to do with this. Their first bet that they were going to take, they have a lot of bets that their staff is picking. One of them is taking under 9.5 wins for Miami and taking over 8.5 wins for SMU. Now, if we can just do some simple math here, that means they think SMU is going to be better than Miami. They also said this, quote, "We like SMU's chances to beat the Hurricanes at home more than the odds makers," which leads me to believe, and the gambling lines have not been released for that game. They probably won't for 2 more months. But I am really, really intrigued on what the opening line is going to be. And this is a line to monitor. If for my gambling people out here, this first segment is going to be somewhat for my gambling people out there. Keep an eye on Miami this year, because if Miami is running the table in preparation for that SMU game, that line will favor Miami. You will get some serious money potentially betting on an SMU win if Miami lives up to the billing as a top 10 team in the country. This can play into the hands of betting SMU fans exceptionally. Believe me, it will. But right now, 8.5 wins. CBS Sports is giving SMU the over on that. They say the Mustangs play Clemson on the road, but they get Louisville and Miami at home, as well as Baylor during the non-conference schedule, which obviously gives you a chance to boost your resume for the CFP. Point number 2. Best bets to make the college football playoff. This is not just CBS Sports. CBS Sports is taking the odds from around the country and different odds makers and whatnot. Miami to miss the playoff right now is a minus 215. That means that is a favorite. Now, most people's odds to miss the playoffs, I will disclose this, most people's odds to miss the playoffs are significantly shorter than to make the playoffs. But minus 215 isn't bad. Isn't bad for an SMU fan. CBS Sports says they have Miami in the playoff in just 14.4% of their simulations, meaning that they would set the line closer to minus 400. CBS is down on Miami. CBS does not like Miami's opportunities to get to the college football playoff. But you know the bet they really like? Per our friends at FanDuel, SMU to make the playoff, and my gambling people, listen the hell up. Per FanDuel, SMU is a plus 420 to make the college football playoff. There is some money to be made there. And I think SMU can get back to the college football playoff. I think if they win 10 games in the regular season, it'll be a hard ask to keep them out. If they go 10-2 in the regular year, which I believe, barring injury or just catastrophically poor play, that's their floor. If they go 10-2, let's say they lose to Clemson and Miami, you may not get in because you probably wouldn't make the ACC championship game. You could potentially, but if they get back to the ACC championship game, which that path is very feasible, SMU's going back to the college football playoff. I 100% believe it. Because this year, if they get to the ACC championship game, win it or not, SMU does not have the sloppy schedule that it had a season ago that you could potentially use as an excuse. It's not there. Now, if they get to the ACC championship game and they've already lost to Baylor and TCU, okay, obviously that's out of the picture. But we are working on an assumption that they're going to beat those two Big 12 teams and lose maximum 2 games in the ACC conference schedule. If you find yourself back in the ACC championship game, I think that bet cashes. I think you get that plus 420, which is then going to make you some serious money. I would jump on that. I really, really would. SMU right now has a win total at 9.2, which is, I believe with a win simulation, if I'm reading this correctly, is the second highest in the ACC. 8.5 win total and a 37.4% chance to make the playoffs, according to CBS. In CBS's simulations, they have SMU making the playoffs in 37.4%. I'm just saying, this isn't just me now loving SMU's chances. This is CBS, who has built their simulations and cobbled together a ton of odds from around the country. And they love that bet, and I love it too. Now, whether or not I'll have the disposable income to put that bet down is a whole other thing. I will say that. By the way, I would love to put my money where my mouth is. I absolutely would. I would put this bet down. I would put $50 on plus 420 odds that SMU makes the college football playoff, because I like their path. And like CBS said, I like them to beat Miami. And I think if you're undefeated at that point, or only have the one loss to Clemson at that point, let me rephrase that. If they have the one loss to Clemson at that point and they beat Miami, I think they're going back to the college football playoff. I think by mid-October, you will have a really good indicator whether or not that bet will hit if you put it down. So go ahead over to our friends at FanDuel and put that bet down. I don't know if you guys can do it while you're in Texas. I'm not really sure how the gambling laws have evolved there ever since I moved out of Texas. I know in Oklahoma I can't, so I have to figure that out. But that's a conundrum there. But I'm saying I would put my money there. $50 plus 420 odds, SMU to make the college football playoff. I like it. I like it a lot. And the odds make it that much more enticing. I really do. I'm not kidding you. So head over to our friends at FanDuel and put that one down. Coming up next, Brashard Smith is gone. What is next for the rushing attack for SMU. We'll talk about that on the other side. It's Locked On SMU here on a Thursday. And we are brought to you today by our friends at FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ even before week 1 kickoff, this is your time. This is your moment. You want to take a flyer on the MVP race? I got Joe Burrow. I got Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals winning the MVP this year. I think it's time that he is the best quarterback in the NFL. But what about you? Do you have your pick set yet? Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, welcome back to Locked On SMU. I'm Grayson Singleton. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. So the Dallas Morning News wrote an article concerning how SMU is going to utilize its backfield in the pursuit of trying to duplicate production from Brashard Smith, who is now with the Kansas City Chiefs. And there were a few coaches that talked in this article, but we're going to mainly focus on running backs coach Kyle Cooper. Because last year, and Coach Rhett Lashley has pointed this out, last week, a couple of weeks ago, that last year, this time, nobody really knew who Brashard Smith was, right? This was before he emerged into being a dude that the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of excited about. This is before all that. Nobody knew who he was. But there's basically 4 dudes who are going to be vying for touches this year for SMU. Derek McFall, rising sophomore. Chris Johnson Jr., rising junior, I believe. Maybe redshirt sophomore. I'll double check on that. Transfer from Miami. TJ Harden, transfer from UCLA. And then a true freshman in the running back room, Dramico Green. So there you go. Dramico Green, true freshman, redshirt freshman, Derek McFall, who's the only returner of the 4 running backs who took significant snaps and had significant carries a season ago. Coach Cooper has said he's pleased with all 4 guys. But here's the reality of the situation now. Quote, this says Kyle Cooper. If you press me on it, if it would be a situation where we had Brashard-type production from one person, I would say I don't know if that's going to be the case. But certainly the way that all 4 of them have practiced and the way that all 4 of them in different ways have shown up and flashed, I think you're going to see flashes of explosiveness from all of them. And I'm going to title this, there's a second theme of this show. That's okay. Because we're going to talk about something like that in the third segment as well. But that's okay. You don't need to have one singular bell cow back. Because all 4 of these dudes are highly capable. Chris Johnson Jr. has some wiggle to him. He's agile. He's fast. He's very explosive in the passing game too. Averaged about 10 yards per catch as a running back last year at Miami. He can make plays. He's a playmaker. TJ Harden, we talked about him yesterday as being the most well-rounded of the group. I like TJ Harden to be a guy who can, at minimum, because he's bigger, go get you those short yardage and goal line yards situations and keep the chains moving, score you some touchdowns. But he can also be a dude that you can play in the middle of the field. Derek McFall has a lot of explosiveness to him. We've already seen that in an SMU uniform. Highly capable guy of making big plays. And Dramico Green certainly has all of that as well as a true freshman. And I've said this before, but I think it is worth reiterating. However you decide to deploy at least those top 3 and maybe 4, depending on how Green looks and what they feel is appropriate for him in his true freshman year. However you choose to construct this and divvy up the snaps and carries and touches and whatnot, you've covered all your bases. Because all of these running backs can do multiple things. Now, can all of them do everything? Maybe not. I'm willing to say maybe not on that. But you have everything covered here. You want explosiveness. You want a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. We've got Chris Johnson Jr. You want a guy who already has played with Kevin Jennings and has big play ability, but can also run between the tackles. I present to you Derek McFall. You want a dude who can be a bruiser, but also has a little bit of speed and can spell some dudes as a change of pace type of back. TJ Harding came over from UCLA. You want some just quick energy and a dude that just is going to play with his hair on fire because he wants an opportunity and is going to make the most of it. Jermichael Green is the 4th running back right now. You have everything in the backfield. Hell, you want to split one of them out wide. I think Chris Johnson Jr. can be very capable of playing in the slot or something like that, just to give teams something extra to think about. Casey Woods has a lot of wiggle room here in terms of how he can deploy all these guys. And more importantly, because the college football season is longer, how you can keep these dudes fresh. How you cannot wear them down. Because to me, that's huge. The huge part to me in all of this is not just, oh, we get to toy around with all these dudes and they all have similar skill sets, but they each do something their best that's different from somebody else's best. That's all fine and good. But can you keep these dudes fresh once we get to the later parts of the regular season? Hopefully the ACC championship game. Hopefully the college football playoff. I'm going to look this up here. And I did not have this prepared, but I'm going to do a quick ESPN search of Brashard Smith's time at SMU and how many carries he had, because he was the de facto bell cow back for the Mustangs last year. Brashard Smith, who also, by the way, transferred in from Miami, carried the ball on the ground 235 times. He also caught 39 balls. And that's what allowed him to approach 1,700 all-purpose yards. So in terms of total usage, Brashard Smith touched the ball 274 times, which isn't an obscene amount, but it's a lot. What if we could, let's just say Chris Johnson touches it 160 times, and Derek McFall touches it 60 times. You're still less than Brashard Smith touched it, by the way. And then you get 30 touches for TJ Harding. Obviously, these are all hypothetical. Don't you feel a lot better about that? Don't you? You feel a lot better that none of them are going to be worn down by the time you really have to play the best front sevens in all of college football if you are able to get to the college football playoff once again. I feel a lot better about that. And by the way, the players are going to feel better about it too, because the shelf life of a running back is always been considered to be short. So whether it's the embarrassment of riches in terms of diverse skill sets or the ability to keep dudes fresh, SMU may not have one bell cow back like Brashard Smith was last year. And that will be more than okay. And quite frankly, I'll say this, it might be optimal. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine that you love. And Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every single room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. Man, I just moved into a new apartment a couple of months ago, and I need to do some decorating, man. I need a blackout curtain. I need some more curtains. Maybe even get another chair or some bar stools is really what I need too. Wayfair is perfect for that, and it can give you that perfect new addition for your new home. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. One more segment here to go on Locked On SMU on a Thursday. One more episode after this, and we close out another week, and we are getting ever closer to football season. And that means we're getting closer to the return of tight end RJ Maryland. Now, if you need the refresher, RJ Maryland tore his ACL, knee injury in the middle of last season. And generally, that's a 9-month injury, sometimes less because of advances of modern medicine and rehabs and whatnot. But RJ Maryland is still not back to full strength. We shouldn't convolute the NFL return timeline with the college return timeline. Generally, those two don't match up. So RJ Maryland's going to need a little bit longer. He is into, just based on when the injury happened, he is right around that 9-month mark. Okay, so there's no need to panic here. But we broke out the article from Billy Embody that was talking about practice buzz that has been recent. In the tight end section, he says this: at tight end, Matthew Hibner looks like the starter as RJ Maryland still works his way back. Hibner's play has been impressive since his arrival, and Maryland does more in practice each week. That said, it might not be a bad thing if SMU nurses Maryland through non-conference with a light workload. Getting both players playing at a high level for league play is paramount. It's paramount. It's a necessity. They're going to need both those dudes to be ready to go full speed 100%, especially in those marquee games against Clemson and against Miami. They're going to need those dudes. And working RJ Maryland back in, even during a tough non-con, is more than okay for me. Number one, we got to make sure that knee is good. I mean, we don't want this to become a chronic problem with a dude blowing out ACLs. I'm pretty sure all of us watching can think of some athlete somewhere that has chronic problems with that. We don't want that. So let him work his way back. But the emergence of Matthew Hibner is what makes this okay. I am more than fine with Matthew Hibner being the starter and getting 85% of the snaps while they work RJ Maryland back. This was Matthew Hibner last year. 24 catches for 368. That's 15 yards per catch, which is pretty good for a college tight end. And 4 touchdowns. He had a long of 80 and multiple longs of over 20 plus. Matthew Hibner is a dude that can approximate, if not be the equal to what RJ Maryland is. Now, RJ Maryland is still probably better than Matthew Hibner. I think we all understand that. But what Hibner has shown is A, he can own the middle of the field and be a security blanket, but B, and more importantly, can stretch the middle of the field. And if you're going up against a team that plays like a Tampa 2, something like that, or a cover 3, you're going to need a guy to draw those linebackers back for, if nothing else, open up the underneath. And those are the rhythm plays for your quarterback. And then your quarterback can get into a rhythm with your play caller, and all of a sudden the offense is clicking on all cylinders, right? We all watch football. We know this. So if you have a guy that can stretch the deep middle of the field to the extent that your starter can, you're in a really good spot. Matthew Hibner is a big play dude. Again, 15.3 yards per catch as a tight end in college generally means you're a really good tight end. Now, again, very limited sample size. He only caught 24 balls last year. But after RJ Maryland went down with the injury, this was Matthew Hibner. 4 catches for 39 yards in the Duke game, 3 for 108, including an 80-yard touchdown against Pitt, 3 for 35 and a touchdown against Virginia, 5 for 48 and a touchdown against Cal, 5 for 69 and a touchdown in the ACC championship game. So Matthew Hibner stepped in and basically duplicated, to some degree, at minimum approximated, what RJ Maryland was doing. He played that role excellently. And by the way, now he's up to 252. So dude's got the size. He can block in the run game. He is more than capable of stepping in as tight end 1 and doing work until RJ Maryland really is back to full strength. And that's why if you read that and you think, and I haven't looked at the message boards, by the way, ever since that article from Mr. Embody came out. But if you think that, oh my goodness, SMU's offense is in trouble because we don't know if RJ Maryland is going to be full strength, full speed to go by the time we start the season, relax. It's going to be more than okay. As a matter of fact, you'll be good with this guy, Matthew Hibner. And don't take this as me slighting what RJ Maryland is. Take this as praise for Matthew Hibner, because that's the intention of this segment here, is that you've got a really, really good number 1 with a lot of high potential, and you've got a really, really good number 2 who's going to step in to be number 1, presumably maybe for the first couple of weeks, and be pretty good, more than serviceable. You know, a lot of teams, when they go to their second running back or their third receiver or their second tight end or even a backup tackle, for instance, backup corner is another one that comes to mind here. When you go to those backup positions, you're just looking for a guy to be serviceable. Can you not be a liability? Can you tread water until we get our number 1 back? I don't think that's going to be the case at all with Matthew Hibner. I think Matthew Hibner is going to step in and be a guy who is a part of the offense and an elevator of the offense too. That's how good I believe he is. And that's how good I believe he showed himself to be last year when taking over for RJ Maryland, excuse me. But those two healthy together, that'll be some fun. That'll be a lot of fun, because I'll ask you this question and I'll leave you with this until tomorrow. How many colleges can run a 12 personnel set, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and both of them are excellent targets in the pass game? Think about that answer. I don't know how many programs you'll be able to come up with. And that'll do it for Locked On SMU on a Thursday. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, make sure you tune in to Locked On's The Portal with Brian Smith, who has all the latest on the world of college football. Thank you to FanDuel and Wayfair for sponsoring the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody.